The audio is disturbing, so parental guidance is advised. 911, what's your emergency?
Please. They're trying to kill me. Please, help me. I don't know where I am.
Ma'am, stay with me. Who's trying to kill you?
Oak Beach! No! Get away from me! No!
May 1st, 2010, 4:51 a.m. Call duration, 23 minutes, 14 seconds. 23 minutes. That's how long Shannan Gilbert ran for her life through a freezing Long Island marsh before she vanished. And that call, that one desperate call, it blew open the darkest serial killer case in New York history. But here's the part that guts me. Shannan Gilbert. Prosecutors say she wasn't even one of his victims. December 11th, 2010, 7 months later. Cops are back in those same marshes looking for Shannan. Canine units, cadaver dogs, drones. Hope? Hope was almost gone. Command, K9's got a hit. I repeat, we've got a hit. 500 feet north of the parkway. Over. They thought it was her. God, they prayed it was her. It wasn't. It was a burlap sack. Old, stained, half buried in the sand. Inside, Maureen Brainard-Barnes, 25 years old, a mom from Connecticut. Her hands, bound behind her back with a leather belt. Prosecutors would later tell the court she was fully skeletonized. She'd been there for 3 years, 3 summers, 3 winters. The dogs didn't stop. 50 feet away, sack number 2, Melissa Barthelemy, 24, from the Bronx. Missing since July of 2009, also in burlap, also bound. 2 bodies, 1 day, 1/4 mile. 2 days later, December 13th, they found 2 more. Megan Waterman, 22, a mom. She texted her boyfriend, "I'm leaving now," on June 6th, 2010. She never came home. Amber Lynn Costello, 27. Last seen September 2nd, 2010, leaving her West Babylon apartment with a client, a big white guy, in a Chevy Avalanche. 4 women, all of them petite, 4'11" to 5'1", all of them with dark hair, all of them posting ads on Craigslist because they needed rent money, because they were trying to survive. All 4 dumped like garbage on the north side of Ocean Parkway, wrapped in burlap or fabric, bound. All 4 vanished between 2007 and 2010. 1 man, 3 years, 1/4 mile of beach turned into a graveyard. And I'll ask you again, if Shannan never picks up that phone, if she never makes that call, do we ever find them? And the question that keeps every single detective on this case awake at 3 a.m., who the hell was he? We don't start with him, we start with them. Because for 13 years, they were just the Gilgo Four. They deserve more than that. Shannan Gilbert, 24, from Jersey City. May 1st, 2010, she takes a car service to a client's house in Oak Beach. Joseph Brewer, 4:51 a.m. She runs out of that house, barefoot, screaming, and dials 911. For 23 minutes, she fights to stay alive. Then, the line goes dead. For 19 months, nobody knew where she was. Police search for her, and that search leads them here. December 11th, 2010, 9:40 a.m., Maureen Brainard-Barnes, 25, from Norwich, Connecticut, a single mom. She kissed her little girl goodbye and told her sister she was going to New York City for the weekend to make rent money. Last ping from her cell phone, Midtown Manhattan, July 9th, 2007. Found, burlap sack, tied with rope. A leather belt, size 44, used to bind her hands. Prosecutors say she was fully skeletonized. 3 years in that sand. Same day, 11:15 a.m., 50 feet east. Melissa Barthelemy, 24, from the Bronx. She was a hairdresser. She loved to laugh. She vanished July 12th, 2009. Found, burlap, bound with a belt. But here's what prosecutors say that will haunt you. Between July 16th and July 23rd, 2009, Melissa's little sister Amanda got 7 phone calls. A man's voice. He was taunting her. He said, quote, "Do you know what I did to your sister? I watched her die." He called from payphones, from burners. She thought he was a ghost. December 13th, 2010, Megan Waterman, 22, from South Portland, Maine. She was a mom to a little girl. June 6th, 2010, she told her boyfriend she had a client in New York. She texted him, "I'm leaving now. I'll call you when I'm done." She never called. Found burlap sack. The link? Prosecutors allege her phone showed contact with an email address, andrewbrother@gmail.com. And court filings say that email was created by Rex Heuermann, using his real birthday, his real name. Same day, Amber Lynn Costello, 27, from West Babylon, New York. She lived with roommates. She struggled with heroin, but she was funny, her friend said. September 2nd, 2010, a client comes to the house. Her roommates saw him. Their words to police: he was a big white guy, maybe 6 feet 4 inches, 250 pounds, mid-40s. He was driving a first-generation Chevy Avalanche. Found, not in burlap, but wrapped in camouflage pattern fabric. Prosecutors allege he was changing, he was learning, he was adapting. Do you see it? The pattern is screaming at us. 1. Every single woman advertised on Craigslist's adult services section. Prosecutors allege they were targeted because they were vulnerable, because the killer thought no one would look for them. 2. The physical type. Petite, 22 to 27, dark hair. Prosecutors allege he had a type. 3. The dumping ground. Ocean Parkway, north side of the road, always within that same quarter-mile stretch. Prosecutors allege that was his place. 4. The timeline. 2007, 2009, June 2010, September 2010. He was active, and prosecutors allege he was escalating. 1 victim a year, then 2 in 4 months. But in 2010, Suffolk County PD had nothing. No DNA hit in CODIs, no fingerprints, no witnesses who saw a face. The Gilgo Four case went cold for 13 years, until a 59-year-old architect threw away a pizza crust in Manhattan.
March 2022. New District Attorney Ray Tierney takes office, and the first thing he does, he blows the dust off the Gilgo Beach file. He builds a new task force. FBI, state police, Suffolk County's best. And this time, they had 2022 technology to look at 2010 evidence. Rex Heuermann, 59 years old, architect. He walks out of his office, RH Consultants and Associates, 5th Avenue. He buys a slice of pizza. He eats it on the corner of 35th Street. He crumples the crust, tosses it in a public trash can, and he walks away. He has no idea that 6 plainclothes officers are watching him from a van across the street. The second he's gone, they move. They pull that pizza crust out of the trash. They bag it. They rush it to the Suffolk County Crime Lab. The lab swabs the crust. They pull a full male DNA profile. Then they go into evidence storage. They pull a box from 2010, from Maureen Brainard-Barnes' crime scene. Inside that box, a single male hair, recovered from the burlap sack she was in. In 2010, it was too degraded to test, too small, too old. In 2023, they run it. Match 1 in 79 trillion. Prosecutors say that's the statistical chance that the DNA on that pizza crust and the DNA on that 13-year-old hair came from 2 different men. But wait, it gets worse. Police recovered 11 human hairs total from the 4 victims. 10 of them were excluded as Rex Heuermann's, but 2 of them came back as mitochondrial DNA matches to his wife, Ellen Asa, and his daughter, Victoria. Prosecutors' theory, stated in court filings, transferred DNA. His wife and daughter's hairs were in his house, on his clothes, in his Chevy Avalanche, and when he, prosecutors allege, moved those women's bodies, their hairs transferred onto the burlap, onto the victims. Prosecutors say the killer thought he was smart. He used prepaid disposable burner phones to call the victims, bought with cash at 7-Eleven. No name, no trace, no way to connect it to him. He was wrong, because he made one critical mistake. He never turned off his personal cell phone. The FBI got a federal warrant for cell tower records from 2007 to 2010, and they mapped every single call. Listen to this. This is from court documents. July 23, 2009. A burner phone calls Melissa Barthelemy's little sister, Amanda. The call lasts 58 seconds. A man taunts her. He says, quote, "Do you know what I did to your sister?" The call pings off a cell tower in Massapequa, Long Island. That exact same minute, Rex Heuermann's personal Verizon cell phone pings off the exact same Massapequa cell tower. Heuermann lived in Massapequa Park, 1 mile from that tower. September 2nd, 2010, the day Amber Costello vanishes, a burner phone calls her at 8:12 p.m. It pings off a tower in West Babylon. Heuermann's personal phone pings the same West Babylon tower at 8:24 p.m., 12 minutes later. Prosecutors say this happened again and again and again. The burner phone and Heuermann's personal phone, they were digital shadows of each other. Wherever the killer went, Rex Heuermann went. The Andrew brother email, he signed his own name, Megan Waterman, June 6th, 2010. Before she vanished, she was emailing a client. His name? andrewbrother@gmail.com. For 13 years, police couldn't crack it. In 2023, with a new warrant to Google, they got the subscriber info. Prosecutors say Rex A. Heuermann created that email. He used his real name, his real date of birth. He even used his home landline as the recovery phone number. He allegedly used his real identity to lure Megan Waterman to her death. Search history. 13 years later, he was still looking. When they seized his computers in July 2023, prosecutors say they found his search history, and they read it to the jury. Melissa Barthelemy, searched March 2022. She'd been dead for 13 years. Maureen Brainard-Barnes, searched 2023. Why could law enforcement not trace calls made by prepaid phones? Gilgo Beach news update. Long Island serial killer 2023. And alongside those searches, prosecutors say they found over 200 files. Violent, sadistic, bondage, pornography, and child sex abuse material. 13 years after prosecutors allege he killed them, he was still typing their names into Google at 2 a.m.
The Chevy avalanche. The witness never forgot. Remember Amber Costello's roommates? 2010. They told police, big white guy, mid-40s, Chevy Avalanche, first generation. Rex Heuermann owned a 2002 Chevy Avalanche, dark blue, first gen. He bought it new. He drove it for 21 years. And then, January 2023, 6 months after the new Gilgo task force was announced, 6 months before his arrest, Heuermann transferred the title of that avalanche to his brother for $0. Prosecutors told the court that was consciousness of guilt. That was a man trying to dump evidence. The DNA from a pizza crust, the cell towers tracking his shadow, the email with his name on it, the search history in the dead of night, the avalanche. July 13th, 2023, after 13 years, 4 women, 11 bodies found. The Gilgo Beach task force picked up the phone, and they said, it's time. July 13th, 2023, 8:32 p.m., 5th Avenue, Manhattan. Rex Heuermann walks out of his office, RH Consultants and Associates, 5th Avenue. He's in a suit, he's carrying a briefcase, he's heading to his car. It's the end of another day. He doesn't see them. 6 Suffolk County PD detectives, tasers drawn but low, no uniforms, no sirens. Detectives said, Rex, Suffolk County Police, hands behind your back, you're under arrest. No chase, no screaming, no you've got the wrong guy. Prosecutors say he just looked at them, calm. And he said, is this about those girls? At that exact moment, 40 miles away, a convoy hits First Avenue in Massapequa Park. This is his house, the house he grew up in, the house where he and Ellen raised Victoria and Christopher, the house where his wife still slept. For 12 days, the FBI and Suffolk PD took it apart. They went through the attic, the garage, the backyard. They dug up the yard. They drilled into the concrete. Here's what prosecutors say they presented to the grand jury. Exhibit A, over 200 firearms, rifles, shotguns, pistols, thousands of rounds of ammo, all legally owned, all licensed. Heuermann was a gun collector, a member of the range. Exhibit B, the basement, a room, concrete walls, soundproofed, steel door, no windows. Prosecutors called it a torture chamber in their opening statement. The defense? They called it a gun vault and a workshop for his hobby. The jury saw the photos. They decided. Exhibit C, 12 life-sized female mannequins, stored in that basement, dressed in lingerie, in bondage gear. Exhibit D, hard drives, multiple computers. Prosecutors say they held over 200 images and videos of violent, sadistic bondage pornography and files containing child sex abuse material. He was charged separately for that. Exhibit E, a box in his home office. Newspaper clippings, Newsday, New York Post, from December 2010 and April 2011. Bodies found at Gilgo Beach. Search continues for missing woman. Prosecutors called them trophies, souvenirs. Exhibit F, the 2002 Chevy Avalanche, seized from his brother's driveway. The FBI vacuumed every inch. They took soil samples from the wheel wells. They sent it all to Quantico. From the street, it was just a little red house with peeling paint on a quiet block. Prosecutors allege inside, it was something else. Interrogation. July 13th, 2023. Suffolk PD, 11:47 p.m. 6 hours. That's how long they talked to him. The video was played in its entirety for the jury. Detective asked, "Rex, you know why you're here, right?" Heuermann said, "I have an idea. It's about the girls, the ones by the beach." Detective asked, "Which girls, Rex?" Heuermann answered, "Gilgo, the Gilgo girls." The detective slides a manila folder across the steel table. The DNA report. Detective said, "We found your DNA, Rex. Your hair. On the burlap that Maureen Brainard-Barnes was wrapped in. Can you explain how it got there?" Heuermann hesitated, but answered, "I can't. I was never at Gilgo Beach. I've never been there in my life." Detective said, "We also found 2 hairs. One is a mitochondrial match to your wife, Ellen. One is a match to your daughter, Victoria. On the victims, Rex. On the burlap. How do you explain that?" Heuermann was silent for a moment and then answered, "That's impossible." Then they put the printouts down, his Google searches. Detective said, "March 2023. You Googled Melissa Barthelemy. She's been dead since 2009. Why, Rex? Why were you looking her up?" Heuermann answered, "I'm interested in true crime. I read the news, like everybody else does." Detective asked again, "You also searched, quote, why can't cops trace burner phones? Why would an architect in Manhattan need to know that?" Heuermann looked at the camera, which were recording the conversation, and then said in a low tone, "Lawyer. I want a lawyer now." And that was it. Interview terminated, 1:14 a.m. Prosecutors say for 6 hours he was calm, he was polite, he was cooperative, and he denied everything. He never confessed. But the evidence was already telling the story for him. Who was Rex Heuermann? So who is he? 62 years old today. Licensed architect in New York State since 1996. He started RH Consultants and Associates. His company website, before it was taken down, Listed clients like the NYC Department of Buildings, Catholic Charities of New York, American Airlines. He designed storefronts for Foot Locker. He did zoning work. He was married for 27 years to Ellen Asa. They had 2 kids, Victoria, who was 26 when he was arrested, Christopher, 33. Both of them lived at home, on and off, both adults. Neighbors said, "Rex? He was quiet. He kept to himself, yes, but he'd mow my lawn when my husband died. He'd bring my trash cans in from the curb when it snowed. He seemed like a regular dad, a good neighbor. I don't understand." Former client said, "Hired Rex for a 7-figure build-out in Manhattan. He was meticulous, professional, on time, on budget. I trusted him with the keys to my business. I never, in a million years, you just never know, do you?" He lived in that same red house on First Avenue his entire life. He went to Berner High School in Massapequa. He inherited the house when his dad died. On paper, he was the definition of a suburban Long Island dad, a self-made businessman. Prosecutors allege that was the mask, and at night, he took it off. The other victims. The case expands to 1993. The arrest on July 13th, 2023, that wasn't the end. That was just the beginning. January 16th, 2024, Heuermann is indicted for 2 more murders. Jessica Taylor, 20, from Manhattan. Last seen July 2003, working in Midtown. Found July 26th, 2003. Her torso discovered in a wooded area in Manorville, Long Island. March 29th, 2011. Her skull, her hands, and her forearm are found at Gilgo Beach, near the other 4. How they ID'd her? She had a tattoo on her lower back. It said Remy. Link. Prosecutors allege same dismemberment pattern. Same dump sites, 8 years apart. Valerie Mack, 24, from Philadelphia. Last seen spring of 2000. Found November 19th, 2000. Parts of her body in Manorville. April 4th, 2011. More of her remains found at Gilgo Beach. For 20 years, she was Jane Doe number 6. In 2020, genetic genealogy gave her name back, Valerie Mack. She was a mom from New Jersey. Link. Prosecutors allege Heuermann's DNA was tied to her remains. He was charged January 16th, 2024. December 17th, 2024. The oldest case. The 7th victim. Sandra Costello, 28, from Trinidad and Tobago. Found November 20th, 1993. In the woods in North Sea, Southampton, Long Island. She'd been shot in the head. For 31 years, her murder was cold, unsolved. In December 2024, Suffolk County DA Ray Tierney announces new DNA technology and a reanalysis of the MO link Rex Heuermann to Sandra Costello's murder. He was 29 years old in 1993. 1993 to 2010, 17 years. Prosecutors now allege Rex Heuermann killed at least 7 women. And at the press conference, Suffolk County Police Commissioner Rodney Harrison said this: "We believe there are more victims we have not yet found." Shannan Gilbert, the name that started it all. And Shannan Gilbert, 24 years old, from Jersey City, New Jersey. She was a daughter, she was a sister, and she was a sex worker trying to make money. May 1st, 2010, 3 a.m. She gets a car service to Joseph Brewer's house in Oak Beach, a gated community 2 miles west of Gilgo Beach. She's there to meet a client. At 4:51 a.m., something goes wrong, terribly wrong. She runs out of that house, barefoot, in the dark. She starts pounding on neighbors' doors, screaming for help. She dials 911 from her phone and says, "They're trying to kill me." The call lasts 23 minutes and 14 seconds. She's running through the marsh. She's terrified. She tells the operator, "They're trying to kill me." Then the call drops. 19 months later, December 13th, 2011, a police officer walking a K9 through the dense marsh finds her, face down in the swamp, 500 yards from Brewer's house. Her jeans, her shoes, her cell phone, scattered in the grass behind her, like she was running for her life and losing things as she went. The Suffolk County Medical Examiner ruled her death undetermined. They said it was consistent with drowning, but they could not determine if it was accidental, a homicide, or natural. Her family believes she was murdered. They believe there was a cover-up. They've fought for 13 years for answers. And I need to be very clear here. As of June 2026, Rex Heuermann has not been charged with Shannan Gilbert's death. Prosecutors have not publicly linked him to her. Officially, legally, her case is separate. But, and this is the undeniable truth of this entire case, if Shannan Gilbert doesn't run from that house that night, if she doesn't call 911, police never search those marshes, and Maureen, and Melissa, and Megan, and Amber. They might still be buried in that sand today. That's why, for so many people, for the families, for the investigators, Shannan's name will always be the first name in the Gilgo Beach story. The trial, 2024 to 2026. The trial lasted 2 years. New York State allows cameras in the courtroom. Every single day was streamed live on Law and Crime Network and Court TV. Millions of people watched. Defense attorney Richard Levitt said, "Ladies and gentlemen of the jury, what you have here is a case of contamination and assumption. My client has never been to Gilgo Beach, not once. The hairs? Transferred DNA from his home, from his car, his wife's hair, his daughter's hair. That's in his house. That's on his couch. That's not evidence of murder. That's evidence of family. The Chevy Avalanche? He sold it years ago. The search history? My client is a true crime enthusiast. Since when is reading the news a crime in America? That is the First Amendment." Prosecutor Ray Tierney said, "This is not one piece of evidence. This is not circumstance. This is a mountain of evidence. This is his DNA on the burlap. This is his cell phone tracking him step for step with the burner phone that called these women. This is his email address, Rex A. Heuermann, luring Megan Waterman to her death. This is his search history, obsessing over these dead women for 13 years. This is his car, identified by an eyewitness. Ladies and gentlemen, this isn't circumstantial. This is overwhelming. This is guilt, beyond a reasonable doubt." Victim family impact. Amanda Barthelemy said, "He called me 7 times. I was 16 years old. He told me what he did to my sister. He described it. He laughed when I cried. He took my sister from me. He took my best friend. He took my mom's daughter. I want justice, not just for Melissa, for Maureen, for Megan, for Amber, for Jessica, for Valerie, for Sandra, for all of them." June 20th, 2026, Suffolk County Supreme Court, Riverhead, New York. The room is silent. You could hear a pin drop. Rex Heuermann stands, 62 years old now, grayer, thinner. He looks at the judge. He looks at the families. And he says, quote, "I did not do this. I am innocent." The jury foreman stands up. He's holding the verdict forms. His hands are shaking. "We, the jury, find the defendant, Rex Andrew Heuermann, guilty on all 7 counts of murder in the first degree and murder in the second degree."
The judge doesn't hesitate. "Mr. Heuermann, this court sentences you to 7 consecutive terms of life in prison without the possibility of parole. You will die in the custody of the New York State Department of Corrections. New York does not have the death penalty. Life is the maximum. And for the families of Maureen, Melissa, Megan, Amber, Jessica, Valerie, and Sandra, June 20th, 2026 was the day they finally got to say the word guilty. But even after the verdict, even after the cuffs, the case isn't closed, and it may never be. The questions that won't let us sleep. 1. The other 4 bodies. Remember, in 2011, police found 6 more sets of remains at Gilgo Beach. 2 were identified as Jessica Taylor and Valerie Mack, but 4 are still unidentified today. Jane Doe number 7, Asian male, and a toddler, between 16 and 24 months old, found with a female adult wrapped together. Prosecutors have not linked Rex Heuermann to them, so who were they? And if he didn't kill them, who did?
2. The 14-year gap. Sandra Costello was murdered in 1993. Maureen Brainard-Barnes in 2007. That's 14 years. 14. Was he dormant? Did he move? Did he kill in other states? Or are there victims between 1993 and 2007 that police just haven't connected yet? FBI profilers will tell you serial killers don't just stop. They either die, get arrested for something else, or they get better at hiding. 3. The hair. Ellen Asa's hair. Victoria Heuermann's hair. On the burlap. On the victims. Police have said dozens of times, Ellen Asa is not a suspect. Victoria is not a suspect. They are victims in this too. This is transfer DNA from the home. Ellen filed for divorce 2 weeks after his arrest. She hasn't spoken publicly, but that question, it still sits there in the back of everyone's mind. 4. Why did he allegedly stop in 2010? Amber Costello, September 2nd, 2010. That's the last victim prosecutors charged him with. Then, nothing. For 13 years, until his arrest. Did the birth of his first grandchild in 2011 change him? Did the rise of DNA technology scare him? Or are there victims after 2010 that we just haven't found yet, that are still out there in the sand somewhere else? The Gilgo Beach Task Force is still active. The FBI tip line is still open. At every press conference, the message is the same. Our investigation is ongoing. If you have any information, no matter how small, if you were a victim who survived, please call us. The Gilgo Beach case changed American law enforcement forever. Because of this case, police now routinely collect DNA from discarded items, pizza crusts, coffee cups, cigarette butts. The Heuermann method is now taught at the FBI Academy. Because of this case, the FBI built new protocols for tracking burner phones and digital footprints. Prosecutors proved you can't hide in the data anymore. Because of this case, a 31-year-old cold case from 1993 was solved. Sandra Costello's family waited 3 decades, and they got an answer. That gives hope to every family still waiting. Rex Heuermann, architect by day, prosecutors allege, killer by night. Suburban house, wife, kids, grandkids. Monsters are most terrifying when they look just like us, when they mow their lawn, when they help a neighbor, when they walk their dog. Shannan Gilbert's 23-minute call exposed 11 bodies. A pizza crust solved a 13-year mystery, and a task force of cops who refused to give up finally gave 7 families the word guilty. But did all of them get justice? Because even now, there are names we still don't know, and there are families still waiting for someone to say their daughter's name in court. This documentary is based on public court records, police reports, search warrants, and news articles up to June 2026. Rex Heuermann has pleaded not guilty. He is presumed innocent until proven guilty in a court of law. All claims made by the prosecution are allegations unless a conviction is secured and upheld. This video is for educational and documentary purposes only. We do not intend to defame or accuse any individual beyond what is documented in public records. Viewer discretion is advised. Well, this true crime documentary comes to an end. If you want to understand more U.S. criminal cases explained with original 2D animation, like, share, and comment under this video, and subscribe to Motive Disclosed 2D. Until then, be safe.